Welcome to the First Read Ultimate Spider-Man podcast, where we break down Bendis' iconic run on Ultimate Spider-Man, issues 1 through 160, in Earth 1610. I'm Zach, and I'm joined today by tennis phenom Johnny O.
How's it going?
Pretty good. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Did you have that intro prepared before or after I showed you the tennis rackets?
I had it
on
before, if you believe that.
Did you really?
Yep.
That's specifically amazing because when I hopped on camera with Zach, I had two new tennis rackets in my hand that I've just picked up to demo. Not new that I bought them. New that I'm demoing them.
He's test driving them.
Yep.
And we said he should play double-handed, and every time he beats someone, he gets their racket, like General Grievous.
Yeah. How have you been? Guys, Zach is on vacation right now, and he's still getting this episode in. Tell us about it.
I don't know what you've heard, man. I'm not on vacation. I mean, I did take 2 days off this week.
You're in the beautiful city of Detroit.
And it looks exactly like my house.
Wait a second. You are in your house. What in the world? I thought you were in Detroit. You texted me today.
I was at 11 p.m. last night when we were talking.
Wow. Well, there you go. There you have it.
Again at 4 a.m.
This is a hilarious misunderstanding. Wow.
It's really funny because I got not one, not two, but 3 texts this morning from people who were the gist was
when people know you're going to Michigan, back? Man.
Literally, so many people just assumed I got a hotel up there, and they're like, when you getting back, man? And I'm like, 8 hours ago.
Oh, that's not what I thought you meant. I thought you were saying people found out you were going to Michigan and you got 3 texts being like, dude, can you pick up for me while you're up there?
No.
Marijuana is legal in Michigan and it's not in Indiana for context.
Which is why I don't have any.
Yes. Didn't take a gummy before this started.
No.
Dude, the first week of school just happened.
Yeah. It did.
And it was a pretty busy one, The science teacher, who I've said before, I think has a Midtown High shirt that she wears sometimes. Anyway, she wore it on the first day to school. I was like, "Oh, you got your Spider-Man shirt on."
And are you still
I'm incognito. I'm incognito.
Yeah, you're hiding your true identity to protect the ones you love.
Yeah, we do too much cursing now. What you got going on? Should we just get into it quick this week?
Well, I mean, I had some stories.
Tell me. So just because I've got nothing doesn't mean you don't.
Yeah. So on Tuesday, me and Shyla went and saw Slipknot, and then that threw off the whole week.
I had some friends that were there.
Yeah? Did they also sneak into the pit?
Shyla? No, just kidding. I don't think that they snuck into the pit, but I think I hung out with them maybe on Wednesday or something, and yeah, they were like, we went to Slipknot, and I was like, what? That seems so out of place, but they said it was fun.
Yeah. I'm kicking myself. So the opening band, this was kind of why I wanted to go, was Knocked Loose was opening for them, and I've talked about them before on the pod. And at one point, I was the first crowd surfer of the night. And security sets me down on the other side of the barricade right in front of the singer, Brian Garris. And I hear him say something. But I'm not really registering it. I'm I just run down.
I'm sorry. You were the first crowd surfer of the night at this show. At the Slipknot show?
Yeah, when Knocked Loose was playing.
And when Knocked Loose was playing, and they put you right in front of the singer?
Well, yeah,
in the front row.
Well, so
when you crowd surf, do you jump off the?
That's a stage dive.
Okay.
So this is like a 20,000 people amphitheater where like you can't get on the stage. You stage dive at
That's
shows.
what I was going to be really like. I was like, they let you on the stage?
I mean, I've stage dove over a barricade before, but like that would be really hard to do here. You would get ejected immediately.
Okay. So how do you crowd surf without stage diving? How do you get on top of the people?
Lift you up.
So it must be like a conversation. Like, guys, lift me up.
You like tap them on the shoulder and then you point up and like people know what you're saying, except for this crowd because they were all idiots and they were like, "What is it, boy? What is it? Little Timmy's trapped in the well?" And I'm like, "What the do you think this means? I'm telling you, I'm trying to crowd surf." I thought it was like a common language. I've done this in like multiple states. I know this is what people do. These people just don't go to shows. But
okay,
anyways,
but they got you there.
Eventually, yes, someone knew like universal language. When you point up, it means I want to go up.
Like a baby.
Radical stuff here, John. Anyways, I get back into the crowd and Shyla's like, "Why didn't you go up there? He said, get on up here." And I was like, I thought that's what he said. I think he was like telling me to get on stage. And I was just like, whoa, and ran back into the crowd.
Oh my gosh.
So
you said he was like whispering something like to
No.
you or to, well, earlier.
He said it into the mic.
Oh, but you couldn't tell what he said?
I kind of heard, "Get up here." And to this day, I don't know if he was saying, like, telling other people to crowd surf, but that's like a weird way to say it. You know, that's like 3 words when you could just say crowd surf, and that's one. Or if he was like egging me on to like get on the stage.
I'm upset for you that you didn't get to experience that because I think he was probably asking you to get on stage. And although that would be mortifying for me to do, you seem like the type of person who would have like loved that and would have been fully in your element.
I was wearing a shirt that like, this sounds so dumb, but
you were wearing your First Read Ultimate Spider-Man shirt.
I was wearing a shirt that would like say to them, "Oh, this guy is not like the other rubes here." It's like it was the shirt from a pizza shop in Louisville where they're from.
There was some like background to it. You know, it was a deep cut shirt.
Yes, this pizza shop hosts shows, and it's like the shirt from that pizza shop of one of their shows. So like they're like, okay, this guy knows Spinelli's, he knows us, he's crowd surfing, he's singing the lyrics, he can hang. This is like a hardcore kid. This isn't just like a Slipknot fan. And I didn't get up there.
Oh my gosh. That's still such an awesome story, but it's a bummer that it wasn't like man.
It doesn't end with me getting the mic in front of 20,000 people and like killing the Knocked Loose song with him.
Which would be the second time you've got on stage and gotten the mic from someone in the past like 2 months, right? Because that happened multiple episodes ago. We had a similar conversation.
I've gotten the mic at a Knocked Loose show at that pizza shop that I was wearing that shirt for. Like I've done this before with this band, but it was the difference between like in front of 200 people and in front of like 20,000.
You're so cool. I'm like in awe.
I am so glad you think this because my wife is just unimpressed by this.
I can't explain enough how when I met Zach as a door-to-door salesman, how not this type of person. Not that I didn't think you were cool, but I did not think you were like such. I mean, I didn't think you were getting up at rock shows and taking the mic. That's pretty insane.
Yeah, it is what it is, baby.
Yep. Okay.
What does Shyla say? I'm about to make a name for myself.
Yeah.
So that was Tuesday, and then last night, Friday, I had tickets to a show in Detroit at the venue that Eminem did 8 Mile at. And
that sounds insane. I don't know anything about that, but that's like a movie.
Dead on. Yep. And the guy who was supposed to go with me, bailed like the night before because he said he was still tired from Slipknot, and I was like, dude, that was like 3 days ago, and this guy wants to start a band with me. And I'm
He
like,
can't hang.
he's not built for touring.
Yeah.
This guy's soft. But then I found
wow.
another
So if you
friend
started
who
a
was able
band,
to
what
go.
would you do? Do you play instruments or just sing?
I would sing. I don't have any musical talent. I wouldn't even sing. I would be like the hype
This
man.
just in, folks. Singers don't have musical talent.
Not the way I would do it. Because with hardcore, the good thing about it, and the reason I end up with these mics all the time, is like you can just be a ball of energy and like hype people up, and that's enough. You did your job.
I went to the state fair this weekend, the Indiana State Fair. I don't know if that's something you and Shyla do, but when we were there, they always have someone on like a free show for music, and it was Van Halen the night that it was my mom and I. We went because my mom.
Oh, that's cool.
My mom loves the state fair. It's like the biggest tradition at all. So we're always like, okay, we have to go to the state fair and we have to do all these like boring things because mom loves it, you know?
Yeah.
But
I went one time in there and saw Styx with my dad for free.
Oh, that'd be pretty fun. Well, we just like walked past Van Halen, and it kind of made me feel bad for them because it was not a very crowded time at the state fair, and they were like, "All right, let's hear all the Van Halen fans." Like, woo!
Well, isn't Eddie
And I was
Van
like,
Halen
oh,
dead?
Man, Okay, I don't know. Maybe that would. What I was thinking was like, dude, didn't Van Halen used to like rock out in like the biggest stadiums in the world, and now they're like the free band at the state fair? Like, but maybe that is what it is. Maybe like Van Halen is kind of like not the same band.
It's like in name only.
Okay.
I would think, because I'm pretty sure he died.
And then Thursday, so a couple nights ago, it was Keanu Reeves' band was on the free thing, and if I was free, I was gonna like buy a ticket with a buddy to go to it, but I found out too late. You know that's what I didn't even know Keanu Reeves was in a band.
Yeah, but you know what? I believe it.
Me too.
It checks out.
And the picture of him in the band, in total Keanu Reeves fashion, it's like 3 people in the picture. And like one of them is kind of like front and center, and Keanu Reeves is just like in the background, like doing, they're all like doing a pose, but it's very much not like he's like not the front man of this band, I don't think, which makes me like it even more. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, perfect. One time I saw Mike from Stranger Things' band at a music festival.
Oh, I'll have to
look. It was just like a bunch of 12-year-olds at the time.
Were they good?
No. I don't think they're a band anymore either. They were just there because Mike from Stranger Things.
All right. Should we get on with it?
Yeah, let's do that.
Let's send it over to the
but
BBG.
First, hey guys, we're still waiting on some people who might want to join the Fantasy League. The spots are filling up fast. We've just got a few more to go. So, hit us up on Instagram if you are interested in playing fantasy football with us this year.
Yep. We've got 7 people. Did you say that? There's seven slots filled here. So if you want to,
by the time you
send us a
message us, it might be 0 spots open. So
yep.
Be fast with it.
And we'll have to set up a draft time and everything also.
Yeah.
One of us will get on that soon.
Let's send it over to the Indiana State Fair for a word from our sponsor.
Every business says they're better, but the ones that earn and display the BBB seal back it up. It instantly identifies businesses that are committed to operating with integrity, honoring promises, and telling the truth. Makes you wonder why every business doesn't have it. So look for it, because it's looking out for you. That's why it's the sign of a better business. And find a better business anytime at bbb.org.
You're going to have to do lots of editing in this little section here, Zach.
I can tell. Yeah.
Okay, we're back. This is episode 78, issue 127, and we're doing 128. And I think we said this is like part 3 of 4 of the Venom arc. We're going to have one more episode covering the Venom arc, right?
No.
This is the end of the Venom arc?
Well, don't be so mad at me about it.
It's just the way the issues end.
We'll get there.
I guess so. I can't believe it. I thought I was going to get 2 more issues here. Okay. All right. Well, issue 127. Ooh, let me get my iPad. While I'm pulling this up, can you explain the Venom and Carnage and Gwen Stacy backstory for all of our first time readers, since this is a first read podcast?
Okay. So about 100 issues ago in this series, Peter made contact with Eddie Brock, who Peter and Eddie's parents had used to work together on some experimental thing that was going to cure cancer. It didn't. Peter and Eddie tried to continue their work and accidentally created Venom. We all know Venom. He's got movies. And
out of all of the scientists in the world who have tried to cure cancer and failed, this is probably the worst outcome, would you say?
Or the best, because I think some people see value in Venom. We've been told in recent issues that companies are already fighting over this, and
that's true.
I mean, as far as curing cancer, it went very poorly, but they made a cool weapon.
They did. Okay, go on.
Okay, so Peter thought he defeated Venom, but then at some point he started working with Dr. Kurt Connors, who was also part of that project previously. And Connors was checking out Peter's blood, and somehow it made contact with the Venom, or it had the Venom in it or something. Oh no, what was it? The lab assistant.
Yes, and he had a famous person's name, didn't he? Oh, what was it?
Ben Reilly.
Yes.
In this universe, Ben Reilly is a black lab assistant at ESU with no relation to Spider-Man.
Snuck out, and didn't he sneak out the vial that they had, and then it ate a bunch of janitors and then killed
Peter's
Gwen
blood
Stacy.
Got mixed with the Venom symbiote and created Carnage, which
they mixed it. It didn't get mixed. They mixed it, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it found Gwen Stacy and sucked all of her life forces out and killed her. And we found out during the Clone Saga that Gwen Stacy showed up and said, "Hey, it's me. I'm back. I'm alive." And come to find out, it was the Carnage entity impersonating her. And now we're at a point where Venom is back. Eddie Brock, the original symbiote that kicked this all off, is fighting Spider-Man again.
Kind of confusing. Is it just me? I think it seems sort of confusing.
It is confusing, and we also talked about how the timeline of events is confusing.
It doesn't help it that they're telling stories that in the timeline happened months and months and months ago, or even years ago from a comic reading perspective.
Yes, and that's not going to get any better this episode either.
No, it's not. That's an awesome tease for me to start here, Zach. So, this is issue 127, written by Brian Michael Bendis, penciled by Stuart Immonen, inked by Wayne von Grawbadger, colored by Justin Ponzer, and lettered by VC's Corey Petit. And the first thing that we see when we open the page is 3 weeks earlier. And I was like, I mean, it's just funny because I know last week we talked a lot about how confusing the timeline is, and it's the term 3 weeks ago means nothing when you don't have a date that you are set in at. So
there's no baseline.
Yes, there's no baseline.
Real quick, that just reminded me. So the current Ultimate Spider-Man that's going on, written by Jonathan Hickman, I think it might have learned a lesson from this, because every issue starts off with a title card that says the month that it actually released. So when you pick up Ultimate Spider-Man in the comic shops in August, and then you open the issue, it says in big letters, August, as the first word, and the characters are in August. And then the next issue is going to pick up in September. So you have that baseline that we're missing here.
Yeah, I like that a lot. And I like that you just referenced this new Ultimate Spider-Man because I don't know, maybe I'm going to reference it also later. We're
Ooh.
always on the same wavelength here.
Yeah, we got something going.
Okay, so Rikers Island max security prison 3 weeks ago, and Kurt Connors is eating his lunch and he's got a big swollen eye. It looks like prison has not been kind to him. And the warden comes up and tells him that he's being transferred. And when Connors asks why, the warden says, because some famous people want to talk to you and famous people can do whatever they want. I just wish that Brian Michael Bendis would keep his politics out of my comic books, to be honest. So the scene changes. Connors asks where he's being transferred to, and then the scene changes before we get an answer. And at the Triskelion, Gwen Stacy is being interviewed. And from the intro to this issue, I said, it says the Carnage symbiote took on her life essence or something. But I'm just not sure. Did we ever learn that? Okay, here's what I know you just like gave a backstory, but here's what I remember with Gwen Stacy. She was like killed. And then during the clone saga, once you said that, I did remember, oh yeah, she wasn't like a clone that was made. She was just like the Carnage thing. Because we even commented on that, right? They were like, oh, the clone saga's wrapped up. And we were like, well, not really. Where's Gwen Stacy? She's not a clone. But I guess S.H.I.E.L.D. has just had her.
We did see S.H.I.E.L.D. pick her up in the Carnage form. We had a new teenage transformation.
Okay. There's been a lot of those, so I guess I forgot.
Yeah. They're like shooting her with energy beams on his lawn, remember?
Yeah.
And then no one pieces
I
together,
do.
hey, maybe this is the kid from Midtown High that is Spider-Man.
Yes, that's right. So Gwen is telling the interviewer who she is and who her parents are. She's like, my name is Gwen Stacy. My parents are this and that. Tell my mom, you for leaving me and my dad. And so it seems like it's Gwen Stacy, you know? And she says, the interviewer asks if she knows why she's there. And she says, because something's wrong with me. And the interviewer asks, well, do you know what's wrong with you? And she says, well, I'm no doctor, but I bet it has something to do with this red blobbly monster that killed me. And then I thought this was really cool. The artist, who is it? Stuart Immonen?
Yep.
He does this cool drawback panel, and we see that she's being interviewed in a huge room by herself, and everyone that's interviewing her is in a room of their own, kind of watching, you know, safely.
And I would assume, it doesn't show this, but it feels like she's looking at like one-way glass or something. Like it's set up in a way where she's being observed, but she's not like on equal footing. I don't think she can see who's talking to her at all.
No, definitely not. Well, kind of. I think it looks like they're like watching her from above. Also, I think she's just in a big room just by herself at the table. Maybe there's some glass there that she's looking at, but we can't see it.
They've practically got her in a bunker. They're like afraid this thing's going to carnage out again.
Yeah. So this is where we see Kurt Connors was taken, because the person interviewing is like, "What do you think, Connors?" And then we see that it's Tony Stark that was doing the interviewing.
Hey.
Incredible.
We know that guy.
And even more incredible, because on the opening panel, on the opening page of this issue, who do we get a reference to, Zach? But none other than Doctor Doom.
Oh my God. Bendis knew all along, you guys.
I just think, I mean, it's just perfect. I know we're both really excited about that.
Yeah, no, you actually just like ruined my day a little bit, making me have to remember that Robert Downey Jr. is going to be Doctor Doom.
Give me a break. They're bringing back one half of that writing team that I mentioned last week.
So it'll be half as good as other stuff. That's great.
All right.
It would look really bad on the other guy if it isn't. Think about that. If his writing partner goes out without him and like creates his magnum opus, they're going to say he was holding him back.
No, they won't.
I will.
He's okay. Well, I will too. Well, this podcast will.
Yeah.
So, dude. Okay. Awesome. So Tony Stark's there. He's the one doing the interview. And Tony asks Gwen if they can see the red monster thing. They have kind of a fun exchange. She's like, well, can we see it? And she's confused. She's like, what do you mean? Can I? And he's like, can you show us? And she's like, can I like turn into it? And he's like, yeah. And she's like, well, how would I do that? Should I just wish that I am? And he's like, well, give it a try. See if it works. And so we get a shot of Gwen. She's wishing. She's just sitting there kind of concentrating. Back to Tony Stark watching. Then back to Gwen concentrating. Back to Tony Stark watching. And then that's the end of the page. And as the page changes, I'm like at the edge of my seat, by the way. I'm taking my notes before I write this, before I turn the page. And I'm like, oh my God, what's going to happen? And a huge explosion happens on the base of the Triskelion on the next page. And
I think the funny thing is the first page of this book was the Triskelion with like huge holes in it from whatever its last encounter had been, and they're repairing it, and then it blows up.
That's probably like, I bet if we really went back through this run, I bet that is kind of a bit similar to every time you're in the police station, like there's a new costumed hero. Like I bet every time they show the Triskelion, it's in a state of repair.
The Triskelion is like impervious and has the best tech, and it's like the most secure prison, and people are always breaking out and stuff's always blowing holes through it.
Okay, something
it's like
else.
How helicarriers never crash, John, except for every single time there's a story set on a helicarrier.
I didn't notice that, but that's true.
Yeah.
Okay, something else about the very first page in this issue that I'm going to go back to. I think Blob is in Rikers Island prison.
I do too.
And I'm going to talk about that later also. Okay. When it comes up again, I think, in the story. Now that we know when any of these events are taking place.
Wish we did.
So the Triskelion explodes, but we see it's not from Gwen, because the room that they're in gets shaken and kind of blown a bit. Gwen gets like blown on her side. But in all of the chaos, she kind of manages to escape from this isolated room. And then we see Norman Osborn breaking out. And this is where I was like, oh, this is the escape from months ago when Norman Osborn broke out. So this is where Dr. Octopus broke them out, right? Or no, Osborn broke them out. This isn't the metal where Dr. Octopus... This is where Osborn was like just waiting for his moment.
They did fight after that.
Yes.
The two of them did.
Yes, that's right.
So that means we've seen this scene.
We've seen the scene, and this is why Zach... I'm sorry, I interrupted you. I've done that.
No, go ahead.
Okay, this is where I remember reading this comic. You were like, who does that blonde look like? And I'm like, I don't know, the Fantastic Four lady, Sue Storm, I think I said. And you were like, I don't know, I think it kind of looks like Gwen Stacy. And obviously you were, you were right. It was Gwen Stacy.
Yeah, I knew that.
Yeah, I figured.
I knew I was right, listeners. Happens every time.
But that is cool. And this does at least give us a somewhat baseline like date for when this is happening.
Okay, I'm glad you say that because I actually hate it now more. Because I realized that same thing. I'm like, okay, this sets this firmly during the Goblin story arc where he killed Harry, right? Death of a Goblin.
Yes.
That's where this has to happen. Peter's activities in those issues are like accounted for minute by minute. There's like no extra time for a B plot that we're just now hearing about.
And this is after the Clone Saga.
It's after the Clone Saga.
And is it,
as far as we know,
when did he tell Aunt May he was Spider-Man? That was the Clone Saga, right?
She found out during that. Yeah, they had a talk a little bit later to smooth
She didn't
things
find
up
out
too.
during like Death of a Goblin. Okay, so like right because I thought I couldn't
I know
remember
what-
if that's when she found out was during that arc.
Nope. So I think what you're getting confused by now is the other issues in this Venom arc where we said she didn't seem like she knew he was Spider-Man.
Oh, okay.
Is that
Oh
what
yeah.
you're
Oh well,
talking about?
maybe. No, I don't think so. I think I'm just not really remembering when that happened. But you're right because he tells her he's Spider-Man. Then his clone dad shows up, who's actually a clone of him, and she's like, "Get out of my life with all of your Parker bullshit."
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
So
Okay, so she firmly knows he's Spider-Man.
at this point, she does.
Yes.
One of the other things that we've hit on in this arc, because every issue is like 3 months
but
ago.
wait a minute.
1
But
month
in
later.
Venom, but yeah, in Venom, sorry I interrupted you again.
You're good.
Okay,
You're good.
But in Venom, but you're right. You just mentioned a Venom thing where we were like, she's like, you can't be out all night at Mary Jane's or working, and it's like she would know that he's Spider-Man. So that means she doesn't know he's Spider-Man, right?
This is where it gets complicated. She didn't at that point. She does at this point because that was 6 months ago, and then 3 months later, and then 5 months ago.
Okay. Okay.
Here's the problem, John. This whole arc uses ago and later interchangeably when they matter so much, because 8 months ago and then saying 3 months later is 5 months ago. But if you just say that time and then you say 1 month ago, if you don't use later after ago, every time you say ago, you're starting over from the unknown present.
Yeah. Yeah, they probably could have just done with some, I don't know, like maybe even putting dates on the comics so we can really follow when it is, because I mean it doesn't matter that much, right? It's the story is still good, I think. But it is like I am reading it and I am thinking like, when did this happen? What has Gwen been up to? Wait a second. Has Peter met her clone yet? Or has he not met her clone yet? You know, which I guess he has, because the clone saga has happened. And then it's like, well, wait, does Aunt May know he's Spider-Man? Because that comes up also, right? So it doesn't matter that much, but it also does matter if you're, you know, kind of reading it carefully, like I guess we do.
Yeah.
Okay, so Gwen escapes in the chaos, and yep, this is the Goblin arc. So we even get to see some like of the exact same panels, which I kind of liked. And she jumps into the water to swim away from Rikers Island, and then we see she climbs up onto a boat dock using like a Carnage tendril. And as she's like getting on the boat, the people loading the boat ask if she's okay and where she came from, and she just says, "Don't know." So then the scene switches to Midtown High, and Peter and MJ are...
And it says today, which, believe it or not, is the most helpful word we've gotten in this issue so far.
Wow, so what? Do we think this is like, oh my gosh, this is probably fully caught up to where we are, because Nick Fury is also not here anymore. We get a scene later where Nick Fury's gone, and I'm like... I thought wasn't Peter and Nick Fury just talking?
Yeah, so we're present day, as far as I know, for the first time in like 2 episodes of this show.
I think you're right. Okay. So Peter and MJ are macking hard, as I was about to say, and MJ finally has to stop him. She's like, "Whoa, Tiger, slow down. It's time to stop." And it seems like the Comics Ethics Authority is still trying to get some, like, they're still trying to make us make sure that we know that these teenagers have not had sex yet.
You know what's really funny about that? Is this going to
come up over and over again?
Well, okay. There's a lot of things going on here. They're making out outside of school with clothes on, and she's like this is getting too close to sex, Peter. When first of all, that whole issue was about she was the one who was like maybe more ready for sex than he was. So
no, remember? His eyes came out of his head and his tongue came out of his head and his ears started steaming.
All right.
When they talked about sex.
In any case.
He said auga and blew a train whistle. Go on.
I'm trying to remember what I was going to say.
They're not like being that physical with each other. Is that what you were going to say? I mean, you know, they're like, it does seem like they're making out harder than we usually see them. But you were saying they're fully clothed.
Oh, also, you said something about the Comics Code Authority. Believe it or not, these years that these comics were made is like the exact sweet spot where that wasn't a thing anymore, and Disney hadn't bought Marvel yet. So, like, they don't really have any guidelines they have to answer to as far as like censorship. These are the years where everything was getting published in Marvel Comics. They had like explicit Punisher comics about him, like
that's oh my god,
hard R.
That reminds me so much of the It's Always Sunny episode where they're like writing the movie and it's like a guy that can smell crime, and then they go to Dennis and he's like, full penetration, he's out solving murders. Back to full penetration, out solving murders. And then back and forth until it just ends. Dude, Jean-Claude Van Damme should play the Punisher.
What's the one guy that's like Thunderclaw or whatever? He's like,
my gosh,
MacGyver dude.
Yeah, he's Thundergun, John Thundergun,
John Thundergun. Show the or whatever they say.
All right, so so they see off panel that Eddie Brock has arrived, and they're like, "What are you doing here?" And so they see Eddie Brock. They're making out. They get stopped. They see Eddie Brock off panel. They're like, "What are you doing here?" And this is so funny. Eddie Brock immediately goes, he goes, "Life's good, I see." As he sees like Peter and MJ making out. What a creep, dude. What a creep.
This dude sucks.
Imagine,
as if you forgot.
Imagine an adult man seeing like two 15-year-olds kissing and be like, "Life's pretty good for you guys, I see."
Imagine a grown adult seeing 15-year-olds kissing and reacting at all. I would just look away. Like, that's awkward.
Yeah, that's like very awkward. Unless it was in school. And then I'd be like, "All right, guys, relax."
Hey, buckaroo, chill. No, what you would really say...
Make room for the Holy Spirit, guys.
I was going to say, you work in a Catholic school, so tell him to put the Bible between them so he has to go through Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John to get to her.
That's funny. That at our like 7th and 8th grade dances, our CYO dances we do back in the day, that's what the line was. "Oh, make sure there's room for the Holy Spirit."
Yeah.
I like the Bible one too. That's good.
Dude, you know what I realized the other day?
What?
I don't think the Bible ever says that Jesus was crucified in diapers. But that's how every artist renders it. They decided that themselves. They just really wanted to draw Jesus in diapers.
Well, all right.
When there's already a baby Jesus. How crazy is it that baby Jesus wears swaddling cloths and dying grown man Jesus wears diapers?
Well, I think he's still wearing swaddling cloths. You know, I see the joke. I see the humor in it, but wouldn't it make sense if they're gonna crucify him? He wouldn't be in jeans and a t-shirt, right?
I think he'd be in whatever they bury someone in.
You would think that they would probably give him like cover him up, you know. So I'm going to say that this checks out. This is part of the Bible that was true and happened. Like
Okay.
all of it.
Now I'm having like despicable thoughts. Like, what are they called? Like unwelcome thoughts or something.
Intrusive thoughts.
Yeah, I'm having some despicable, intrusive thoughts now, thinking, well, for all of human history, why have we even needed execution methods? Because after you kill someone, you still have to bury them. So just start burying everyone alive.
That's like, dude, that's like late stage capitalism of like executions, I feel like. Just chuck him in a pit, man. Like,
News boss, I made it 20% more efficient.
Okay, so Eddie Brock. Okay, here's why it's specifically funny that he says that thing about life's good, huh? Because he walks up to Peter and MJ, and they're like, "What are you doing here, Eddie?" And he's like explaining who Eddie is. He's like, and Eddie's like, I'm friends with your ex-boyfriend. And then he says again, life's good, huh? And it's just weird. But we don't have to hamper on it.
John, there's nothing worse than a person who makes a bad joke and then says,
Twice.
Hey, did you hear me? Did you hear me? I said this.
That's actually really true. That's a good rule to just learn for life. If you ever make a joke and it like doesn't get a good response, like my suicide joke about the emo song that I listened to,
Dashboard Confessional.
Just don't make it. Just definitely don't make it again to the same person and be like, well, maybe they just didn't hear. They heard, and probably don't make it again anyways.
Yeah, I learned that lesson the hard way. We're on church a lot today. My youth group, when I was like in middle school or high school or whatever, my youth minister's wife. I don't know why I thought she would like this joke, but I was like, hey, Candy, so a dyslexic man walks into a bra.
That's a hilarious joke.
I thought so too, because it is. I said it again. I was like, no, I don't think you get it. He couldn't spell bar. And she just goes, Zach Armour, my son is dyslexic.
Well, dude, that's still funny. I'm sorry.
I was like stumbling over my words trying to recover from that one.
How old were you at this?
I don't know, man, 13 or 14.
Yeah, I'm sure you'd have been feeling quite a bit of shame there.
So don't ever make the same joke twice. If it doesn't land, you're the problem.
Okay, so Eddie Brock is, he says, Peter, you've got to help me get the black suit back. Otherwise, I'm going to the press. I'm going to the Daily Bugle. I'm going to tell everyone that you're Spider-Man. And to Peter's credit, he's not really having any of it. He says, Eddie, no offense, but you must be crazy. The parasite is gone. You're free. It was a horrible thing that happened to you, and now it's over. How about you, I don't know, start your life over. Be a normal person, the kind that doesn't hang around high school parking lots threatening teenagers. And Eddie just tells him to get the suit back or he's going to make him very famous before leaving.
Good scene.
Dude, it is. This is like a really good arc, you know? I think, did we have an issue with the start of this arc after the first couple of issues? But
Probably.
last week,
sounds like us. We're complaining, nagging.
Well, no, we aren't. Last week, because we like praised it a lot, right? Apart from like the time stuff, I think we both said we liked it a lot. And
I think the time stuff was a big sticking point, though.
Well, I'm over it. I like it a lot.
Okay, good.
So Peter,
it is a fun arc. Even when we say like, oh, these were 2 bad issues or whatever, they always somehow pull it off. Like they'll land a 6-issue story arc with 2 really bad issues, and we'll be like, yeah, we kind of liked that.
Yeah. So Peter's swinging around. He's thinking about what he should do. And this is just another great, like couple of pages, great scene. And it's just him thinking to himself, swinging. And he's thinking to himself, I'll go to the only people I can trust, the Fantastic Four. But as he swings by the Baxter building, he can see that there's no lights on. And he says, of course, they're not home. And I can't even leave a Post-it saying why I was here, because if I touch the building, attack robots will attack me. You can't touch the Baxter building. No, the Baxter building's off limits, or something like that. And it's pretty funny.
It was a great callback to a scene from way earlier in the run where that
Drawn by
happens to
Jim
him.
Mifune.
Dude, okay, Jim Mifune might come
Jack,
up later.
I was about to say Jack, sounding like Joe Biden, but I was going to say, Zach, I got a steel trap. That's what I should say. I got a steel trap up here, Zach. Jack. What about Jim Mifune? What were you saying?
Oh, at the end of the episode, I was going to tell you about this con that we're thinking about going to for Shiloh's birthday, and Jim Mafude's going to be one of the guests there.
Oh my gosh. Dude.
Should I go up to his booth and sucker punch him and say, that's one's for Johnny O?
Definitely not. If anything, you should go up to him and be like, this is... if I ever met him, one, I would, of course, never say anything. I mean, all I would do is praise him, because even like the worst drawn comic, or to me personally, right, because it's all opinion. I'm sure some people, that's like their favorite art style, is still a million times better than like any average person who can do anything, you know, like, no, Zach, I hate on people over the internet, never in person.
Oh yeah. I mean, that is true, and it's a good thing to remember. And you know, he could be like the sweetest guy ever, and he's definitely had some staying power in the comics industry, that he made one issue he complained about 20 years ago, and today his presence is still like requested at conventions. You know,
definitely.
He's doing well.
Of course. Does he draw in that art style, like all of his issues?
I've never encountered any other stuff by him, and if I got to be honest, I'm now like intrigued to check.
Yeah. Okay. Well, hey, if you and Shiloh go to that, you know, let me know. Maybe I'll try to sneak out there with you guys.
I was gonna tell you some more about it, so make sure to remind me, because there's like a lot of cool stuff there.
I definitely will. Okay. We're kind of off our rocker, huh? We're kind of going. This is going to be another long one. That's
you
fine.
know what though? I think I can sell tickets to let people watch me edit it.
So that was funny. He swings by the Baxter building. Then he's like, okay, and I can't go to the police because what am I going to do? Just be like, hey, I know I'm in here with a mask. But right, he would never go to the police anyway, so it doesn't even matter why. And then he's like, and I can't go to Nick Fury because Nick Fury's gone bye-bye. And this is where I was like, wait a second. He just hung out with Nick Fury last issue, but Zach is right. It does say today, so we know it's set today. And then lastly, he's like, I know. I'll go to the Ultimates. They're the true heroes. Tony Stark, Captain America. So he tries to go by the Ultimates. But as he gets to their place, their helicopter's flying off. So he's like, okay, I'll do it myself. I have resources for this. And while I was saying that whole thing, Zach was trying to show me his cat, which I just wanted to get through the scene before I diverged us again. Yes,
Sorry.
Which one is this?
This is Rogue.
Nice. Is this the newest one?
No, she's one of our originals. She's a daddy's girl.
Nice. Yeah, she's being very good. Show her again. She kind of looks like Percy a little bit, but not really. A little bit. She's a bit bigger, but yeah.
She is our chunkster. Believe it or not, this is her after losing weight.
My friends who went to the Slipknot show, actually, they have a cat named Arlo. Best cat ever. Is like the reason that I like loved cats is when I lived with them, and like Arlo was just awesome. But he was like supremely overweight. Every time I'd go over there, I'd be like, dude, he's like fat as shit. Are you serious? And they're like, no, he's fine. I'm like, no, he's not. And then he had to get his teeth cleaned, and he went in, and they were like, he's too overweight for the anesthesia. We cannot put him under safely. He is too obese. So now he's like on a diet, and I just went over there a couple days ago, like I said, and he does look thinner, but man, he's got ways to go.
He's built different.
But it's so funny. How can you like let your cat get so fat? Just don't feed him. What are they going to eat? Like the carpet? So Peter is like I have resources. Yeah.
Dude, we are gold today. This is funny stuff.
Get your special sock out, nerds. This is about to get good.
Woo, I'm about to make a name for myself.
That's the same joke twice. But luckily your impression was spot on both times. So it was good both times. That was not Eddie Brock. Okay. So Peter goes to the Bugle because he's like, I kind of like that. He's like, you know what? I'm going to do this myself, even though I do kind of dislike that they were like, I'll go to the Fantastic Four. So then in my brain, I'm like, sweet, we're going to get some Fantastic Four in. And then I'll go to Nick Fury. Wait, he's not there. I'll go to the Ultimates. Like, dude, especially when we got Tony Stark earlier in this issue, I was kind of looking forward to some more Tony Stark. I feel like they cheese us with that a lot, but
John hates a fake out.
I do kind of. And I know we are just trying to get through this issue, but the thing about the Blob on page 1 that I said I was going to come back to.
God, was that even today?
Yes, I think that Magneto escaped during that breakout that we saw. I think he had to have, even though in the issue they say, luckily Magneto is locked down underground and he can't get away. I think he must have escaped during that issue because that's how we meet him later. And that's how the Blob is out of prison. He must have gone in and helped the Blob break out of prison as well. I think those two things are kind of connected. Maybe that's not what they meant to do with the story, but I think we can interpret it that way.
Well, maybe that did happen in the pages of Ultimate X-Men, which is another series that's coming out in this universe at this time. We're just not following it. And these are X-Men characters.
Maybe it is. Or he probably just broke out at a different time.
One of the two. I mean, people are always breaking out.
That's true. It's like Arkham Asylum with Batman. You know?
Yeah.
That's why you should just kill your enemies.
It's the world's most expensive.
You're supervillains. Not regular people shouldn't do that.
Okay? Oh, sure. But if you do, make sure to just bury them alive because it's more efficient.
True. Yeah. So Peter goes to the Bugle and he's doing research. He's researching hard. It's like a montage. He's like, Roxxon does this and Trask does this and Silver Sable and Blue Beetle. And he's reading all of them and you see a screen and he's got 19 tabs open and he's and he learns that Trask Industries is basically doing the same thing that his dad was doing. They're just totally stealing the idea. They're with symbiote technology, we can make people not have cancer. And then there's even people being well, you just want to use it for military technology. And I feel like Trask Industries kind of lying. They're no, we just want to use it for health purposes. But anyway, they're probably all being very shady about it. It seems like there's 6 or 7 companies being shady about this stuff.
It's almost like Bendis is making a political statement.
And I wish he would just stay out of it. I know I said that earlier also. We can repeat ourselves sometimes, okay? And so Peter's kind of getting eyed while he's doing this research because he's soaking wet. He was just swinging a Spider-Man in the rain. And Ben Urich is eyeing him. And who's the other guy that's eyeing him? Mr. Robbie.
Yeah.
Robbie's eyeing
Robertson.
him. Yeah. And hilarious.
Dude. It's all the people that we know at the Bugle.
Yes.
We know 3 employees. It's all of them. Betty Brant's not here.
Yeah. And Peter's not even working today. They're like, Peter, you okay? You working today? And he's like, no, I'm just kind of doing something really quickly. So, but then as Peter's doing his research.
This is funny. I think Betty Brant is there and Peter's head is covering her up like Mike Wazowski in the commercial.
Oh, I think you're right. That probably is her.
It's they went to great lengths to not show her.
And as Peter's researching, he's also typing in his dad and Eddie Brock, and he's like, there's not one mention of my dad. He's thinking to himself, there's not one mention of my dad. They're all stealing his idea. This makes me so mad. And he gets up and he walks out. He's done his research. And as he's
I think
leaving,
it's fake that I also can't find anything about my dad on Wikipedia.
Wow.
Anytime you can't find your dad online, it's because there's some conspiracy cover up, not because he's just a guy.
Now here is a tangent for you and for the listeners, okay? If you type in Anthony Opat, who is my dad, online, the very first result on Google is from Time Magazine. I'm looking at it right now, okay? I'll read it for the listeners. If you guys, you can fast forward like a minute if you don't want to. 1 minute read, it says. I
tried to type in Ty Opat, and it auto-corrected to
So Anthony Opat, this is my dad.
Oh.
It's called
Ty?
I don't know. You must have misheard. I maybe said Tony to start. He goes by Tony, but you'd have to type in Anthony. So it's called Americana Job Crashing. And this is about my dad. This is from October 9th, 1978. In the 1944 movie An American Romance, the destitute hero walks into an iron mine, begins working, and is soon hired on regular hand. But as Anthony Opat, 19, has found, life unhappily does not imitate art in this situation, at least not at the Ford Motor Co's stamping plant in Woodhaven, Michigan. My parents, or my dad's family, was extremely poor in like Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, so it was hard to get a job, right? So, but this is in Michigan, so I guess he's moved to Michigan at this point. So unemployed and desperate for work, Opat applied for a job and was turned down. Next day, he went to the plant's gate, flashed an unemployment card as if it were an employee's ID, and joined a production line. For 3 days, Opat took his place among the workers, stacking automobile hoods, but then he was discovered and ordered to leave. I hoped they would see that I was a good worker and give me a job, said Opat. Despite his purely volunteer status, the plant's personnel department paid him $218 for his work, and according to Opat, promised him a job if he would keep his mouth shut. After 2 weeks without further word from the plant, Opat began talking to the press. No comment, said a Ford spokesperson to all inquiries, and so far, no job for Opat either.
Oh my God.
I mean, that's pretty awesome, I think. Like,
that's a crazy story.
And to my dad's credit, and the exact opposite of mine, he has an insane work ethic. And whenever I say things like, your company doesn't care about you, right? They just want to pay you, like, you shouldn't work harder than you have to, blah, 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 which I don't do at my job now, by the way, which I love. I'm a hardworking teacher, but, when you work for, like, a corporation or... he is always like, it's an honor to be working somewhere. Like, you should take that as a, like, so, he just has that mindset.
Yeah. Generational differences.
It is. But anyway, isn't that cool? Now there's a tangent for the listeners.
That was great. I don't know how we haven't heard it before.
So let's see. So as Peter leaves, Ben Urich is like eyeing him up because, like I said, there's people there. He's kind of getting the side eye from Ben Urich mostly. And Ben sits down at his computer, the computer Peter was working at, and he's checking out his like history. And he says, "Rocks on," more like "rocks off," right, Zach? Tell you what,
we can repeat ourselves sometimes.
I'll tell you what, if you're looking at my search history, it's more like "rocks off." Am I right, Zach? Am I right, Chachi? So he says, "Rocks on, Trask. What are you doing here, Mr. Parker?" He says that to himself. And he does not know Peter's Spider-Man, right? Or can we assume that he does because he's a good reporter? Haven't we talked about this before?
I think we've talked about it to say we're surprised he hasn't figured it out because he's a good reporter.
And I think this line right here, I think makes it unequivocally like certain that he does not know Peter's Spider-Man
yet, but he might be close.
Okay,
I would say he's probably pretty close if he's asking those kind of questions.
Well, I don't know. I think maybe this could be the string that leads him to that. But I don't know. By saying like, "What are you doing here, Mr. Parker?" That makes me think he doesn't know. He's like, why would Peter be looking at this stuff? If he thought he was Spider-Man, he'd be like, this is, you'd have a different thought, I think. Maybe I'm not.
He was confident enough to say it out loud though. I mean, how often do you just speak your thoughts out loud when people could hear and it's like not a fully formed thought.
Okay. I guess you're right. I mean, sometimes I do. Sometimes if I'm by myself, I do talk to myself,
But it's like
a crazy person.
But if you're thinking about something hard enough to say it out loud, it's not just like a passing thought. It's like something he would.
That's true.
Follow.
I guess they did just show us like multiple pages in a row of Peter thinking to himself, and it would have been very easy for them to make a thought bubble instead of a speech bubble.
Yeah.
I think we're getting some of Bendis and Immoman's best work in this issue.
It's hard to disagree. It's really good. I'm looking right now at Peter swinging through the rain, and
It looks
I'm just
great.
thinking, at this time, I mean, I think every one of those raindrops was like hand drawn.
Are you looking at the one with the Baxter Building front and center? Because I think that whole page is like, it's as good of a drawing as you will see.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
Okay, so Peter swings back home, and he's thinking to himself again. He's like, this sucks. Maybe I should just bury Eddie alive. No, I should really help him. He's like, right, we know Peter's a good guy. He's like, I want to help Eddie, but I just don't know how to do that. And then from off panel, someone starts talking to Peter, and his spider senses go crazy. And they say, Peter, I'm sorry, Peter. I swear I wasn't going to bother you anymore. I wasn't going to just be here like this. But, and then the page turns, and it's Gwen Stacy with a very comical Carnage face, like masked onto her face.
It's like Carnage is wearing a wig.
It's like, dude, that's exactly what it looks like. It looks like that is exactly what it looks like. And she says, I'm having a bit of trouble here, and I don't exactly know what to do. And then the issue ends. And it's pretty good,
Yeah.
It's pretty good. Pretty good issue.
As far as last pages go, where you turn, you're like, oh, holy what am I looking at? That's a pretty good one.
I'll tell you what, I was not expecting it. Both times they set up like something's about to happen right when you turn the page. And both times
they got you.
And both times they got me, right? The first time I was like, well, either Gwen is going to become Carnage or she's just going to be sitting there and nothing will have happened. And it was not that. It was like a big explosion at the Triskelion. And then in this one, of course, we probably both assumed reading for the first time that it was Gwen that was about to be there. But I did not expect Carnage in a Gwen wig.
Yeah.
Pretty good. What's
I was thinking earlier, how creative is it to take Gwen, whether you think it's good or bad, who the hell thinks I'm adapting Spider-Man, hitting all the old story beats? I know Gwen Stacy will become Carnage. I mean, that is like an original thought. Say what you want about it. They were taking risks in this.
That's true.
This series.
That's true. And I might say the same thing about Iron Man becoming Doctor Doom. Say what you want, but they're taking a risk. Okay?
I choose to not believe my words in this case.
There's nothing safe about bringing Robert Downey Jr. and the Russo brothers back. They are taking a risk.
Okay, yeah. I'm not saying it's a good risk. I'm not saying it's one that I think
that was just a
off.
joke because that is like the safest thing they could do.
I think there's an argument to be made either way.
Yeah. What do we want to? How about out of 10 superheroes teased, but not given to us?
Not that way.
Not that way. I'll tell you what. Only one superhero got teased in this one, and it was Spider-Man, and like the 5th page.
Oh yeah.
Life's good. Huh?
He got teased for getting teased.
Yep. I'm gonna say I like this one a lot. I'm willing to give this one a 9 out of 10.
Really?
And yes, I am. And I'm also gonna say I think comics should be 18 pages, except for 23 pages. because then when you get, especially if you're going to take detailed notes over every single one of them, and because then when there's a couple pages that you want to put very text heavy, like, or thought heavy exposition, or like really like get into something, it doesn't feel like it's too much, you know?
Right.
When an issue's 23 pages and there's 4 pages that are just wall to wall with text, it's just too much.
Counterpoint, John.
They come out once a month.
We need words to tell stories.
That's true. That's true. I mean, you're right. But I enjoyed this one wholeheartedly. I'll give it a 9 out of 10.
Okay. You talked me into a 9 out of 10 too. I flipped through it and I was like, it almost felt easy to overlook how good the whole thing was, you know, because I didn't think about it that consciously when I was reading it originally. But then when you're talking about it and I'm seeing these pages, I'm not seeing anything wrong with this.
Yeah. And I really enjoyed also, like, dude, I always get kind of geeked out, you know, when like Tony Stark shows up, right? I like that. And
Is that your favorite character? I feel like it is.
it's probably my favorite character in this Ultimate run. Probably either seeing him show up or seeing Reed Richards show up are my two favorite people to show up. Probably
in the movies
even more,
it's Cap.
probably even more than the Kingpin, who is my favorite villain to see show up.
That's true.
But
John's
in the
favorite
Marvel
characters are very apparent.
in the Marvel universe, yeah, it's my favorite character is definitely Captain America. But Iron Man is a close second. I mean, he's awesome also.
Yeah, he'd make a good Doom.
I think he will. And then, the thing about Ultimate Spider-Man now that's going on that I was going to say was, they specifically, I think it's so fun that Peter is specifically like, there's only one group of people that I trust, the Fantastic Four. They'll know what to do. And now we are going through this universe, which I will say forever, that is what we should read when we finish this. We should, that's what we should definitely go into, even if we have to buy the issues, you know, that's what we should go into. Now, like, that guy is literally like the ultimate villain of the universe. And it would be interesting. Is there a middle run where we see how that happens, or has it just happened by the time?
Well, Miles Morales is going to be the Ultimate Spider-Man for a little while, and the Ultimate Universe will still have some stories.
But do we get to see the
Maker stuff?
The Maker stuff. Do we get to see him become the Maker, or is that just kind of like backstory in the you know?
There are issues we could read of him becoming the Maker that just aren't Ultimate Spider-Man.
I think we should do that after this. We should go through the Maker arc and then the new Ultimate Spider-Man arc.
I think you have figured out.
I don't care if they're not good. Is that what you're about to say? Like they're not
No. You've figured out that the Maker is like theoretically the most important character in like the Marvel universe today, right now. And
we read that very first issue, you know.
But you just want to find out everything you can about him because he's like the most important right now. And that's like, it's smart. It's a good, way to look at things.
But also it's just interesting. Like
you are very interested in the Maker.
And it's probably why I really like the Robert Downey Jr. becoming Dr. Doom. Like there's an interesting story there when Reed Richards becomes the ultimate villain. Just like there will be, Zach, I know you don't like it. There will be an interesting story that turns Tony Stark into Dr. Doom. It will be good and interesting, okay? It might not be Dr. Doom that you know, but it will be a good, interesting story.
Everything you're saying right now is probably what was said like 10, 15 years ago when they made Reed Richards the Maker. And
I thought that was like current. I didn't know that happened 10 to 15 years ago.
He's been the Maker for like 10 or 15 years. He's just becoming a problem again now.
Oh, so we'd have a lot of issues to read about him. It wouldn't just be like 10 issues and we'd get like the Maker story and then we could jump in.
You'd get like the Maker's origins. You wouldn't get his middle story.
Okay.
We'll look more into how we can get John Maker issues.
Definitely. And then we should read that What If between Doctor Doom and Tony, where they switch bodies at some point. I'm just a sucker.
This is a Spider-Man podcast still, right?
Yeah, man. We're doing all this.
I'm kidding.
So
I know.
We're doing
I
this
know.
so we can get to Ultimate Spider-Man.
I know.
And enjoy it at maximum level.
It all truly connects. This is what I have to explain to Shiloh, and she's like, "Why'd you spend $20 at the comic shop?" And I'm like, "Well, there's these series that I don't actually care about, but I know they're going to tie into the series I care about, so I had to get everything."
Okay, 2 9 out of 10s. You're up.
All right, I'll read my notes, and right now they're just a Time magazine article about some guy named Opat. Okay, so this is Ultimate Spider-Man issue 128, same creative team as John said earlier. And we open on Eddie Brock sitting on that damn bench again. We remember the issue that was just him on this bench?
Yep, and right when I saw this, I think it's a really good juxtaposition because last time we saw Eddie on this bench, he was like having a good time, right? He was just eating people,
he had his powers.
telling his story, and now we see him, and we know from the last issue that Eddie's going through it. I'd say he looks a little thinner, a little more gaunt. He just looks like he's having a rough one.
Definitely. The first time we saw him and he said he was homeless, he looked kind of put together. This time he really looks like he's not doing well without the venom.
Yeah.
So a guy comes up to the bench and sits next to him and strikes up a conversation. And Eddie tells him his name and then says, "There are thoughts in my head that aren't my own. And I'm hungry. I'm always hungry, and it's my fault."
Does this make you feel a little bad for Eddie?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, kind of me too. Just because, right? We want to talk about this without like spoiling more of what happens in the issue, but this is like, oh man, Eddie. Maybe that's why Eddie must want the suit back so badly. Is like internally he like is not doing well,
Yes.
because it messed him up, which would make sense.
Well,
Yeah,
and it's having like external consequences. That's what I was trying to hint at earlier. I think I probably wasn't clear about it. Yeah, he's like not doing well in every way now that he's separated.
Yeah. Poor guy. Just wants to eat people at the park.
I know. Well, that becomes the interesting thing is, he's kind of easy to sympathize with right now, but if we come to find out that maybe like his situation or his wishes are different, he'd be less easy to sympathize with.
But when he's yelling at Peter and MJ and he's got the stupidest soul patch ever, like front and center on his face, it's not, you can't really see it in this one, but in the last issue when he's like, there's like just his face. It's like, oh yeah, Eddie's got that soul patch there. I kind of forgot about that.
Yeah, soul patch still in 2008 is kind of crazy. Okay, so we cut back to Peter Parker's attic the night before. So now we got another time. It's the night before. Peter asks Carnage Gwen who she is. And she says, "Peter, it's me, Gwen Stacy. I promise." And Peter says, "That's impossible. She's dead."
I've got a question for you.
Shoot.
Okay. If Shyla had a Venom face,
That's not where I thought this was going.
Would you recognize her?
I thought you were going to say if Shyla died and came back through a Venom, would it still?
Oh, okay. Well, I don't.
That's another question.
That kind of makes me sad to say. But if Shyla, if you were out and about at Walmart or wherever you get your groceries, and Shyla walked up to you in a shopping cart with a perfect Carnage face, and she was like, "Zach, it's It's me. Would you be
Nightmare
like,
fuel.
who? Or would you be like, oh, I can tell by the rest of you and your voice that that's Shyla?
Dude, I'd just be too freaked out that there's a carnage in front of me. What are we talking about?
Well, put yourself in a different situation.
Sure.
Okay, here's a better one. Zach. Here's a better one. It's Carnage Day at the mall. Everybody has perfect.
As we do here in the U.S.
Everybody has perfect Carnage masks on. Can you pick Shyla out of a group?
Yeah, probably.
I think probably too. Yeah. Okay.
All right.
No, I'm not saying I could pick Shyla out, but I bet I could pick out like my friends and family out of a group. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess the point I'm getting at is here. You think Peter's looking at this person being like, "Oh my God, is that Gwen Stacy in Carnage?" Or
he knows who it is. I think.
Okay.
So Gwen says that she knows that, but it really is her. Knows that she's dead. She tells him she had nowhere else to go. It was either this or she jumps off a bridge. And she tells him he's like her brother. And he and Aunt May are the only family she has. And she concentrates really hard and contorts her face back into the regular human Gwen form. And Peter asks her where she's been this whole time. And she tells him they were keeping her in the Triskelion and had been poking her and probing her before she escaped. And I didn't like that probing part. I feel like, it's a little diabolical.
That is diabolical. I didn't even think about that.
So they'd been doing that before she escaped. So she tells him that she escaped. And Peter freaks out and realizes, well, if they're looking for her, his house will probably be the first place they check. And just then, the doorbell rings, and Peter tells Gwen they have to get her out of there. And May answers the door through the chain lock and sees that it's Eddie Brock. And he asks if he can come in and says, "Oh, please, ma'am, I'm a friend of your nephew Peter's." And May asks Eddie if he has a gun or any superpowers. And Eddie's like, no. And she says, "Hold on." And John, she unlocks the chain lock, but when she opens the door, she's holding a revolver at Eddie's face and says that you should leave and never come back.
This is awesome, Aunt May.
Most badass Aunt May we've seen.
Definitely.
Since she hit Norman Osborn in the back of the head with a cane in the second movie.
Yep. Norman Osborn. Oh my gosh, you're about to be so mad at yourself.
Otto Octavius.
There you go. Yep. Leave it in.
John, I'm not going to lie. I'm surprised I'm talking this well. I'll take it as a win. Okay. All right. So Eddie Brock snatches the gun from her.
I know Aunt May's badass moment unfortunately does not last very long. She gets that gun taken from her very quickly.
It takes the imperceptible moment between one panel and the next. But he snatches the gun from her, and but then that doesn't last long for him either, because he is immediately webbed in the hand and face. And Peter comes in his Spidey suit and starts beating the shit out of Eddie. And May says Peter's name, and he realizes he's making a scene and yelling right in front of the house. So he grabs Eddie and swings off. And Aunt May falls down, clutching her heart, and two mysterious figures appear in her doorway and ask, "Mrs. Parker, are you okay?" And they kind of look like maybe they're wearing like khakis or dress pants or something.
No, I think they're like in suits.
Okay. So yeah, they're like professionals.
This was the mid-2000s. People wore baggier suits than they do now.
That is true. Have you seen Matt Leinart's draft suit?
No, but have you seen like Carmelo Anthony's and that group from that draft?
Okay, yeah,
NBA draft.
That was a little more ridiculous. Suits used to be way too big.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Peter swings Eddie away to the roof of a factory and throws him down, yelling, "Why are you like this?" And I said somehow Gwen gets up there too and climbs onto the roof.
Well, she must have like swung after him.
Or, oh yeah, I guess she can swing, can't she?
Yeah.
Okay. We just didn't see it. And Eddie tells Peter he's like this because Peter got everything and he got nothing. And to make it all worse, the suit chose Peter over him. And Peter tries to talk sense into Eddie and points backwards at Gwen and says, "You see this girl? I'm going to show you exactly what you think you want. Gwen, show him what's inside you." And then Peter's spider senses go off and he sees Eddie point over his shoulder.
Did he think Eddie would see Gwen with a carnage face and be like, "Oh my gosh, that's so spooky. I don't want to do that anymore."
That's disgusting. You're saying that thing was on me? Yuck.
Like, I mean,
does he think that's really going to work?
He probably, like, Eddie would probably think that's pretty tame, you know? Normally he erupts into a full-on, like, creature.
Yeah, he's like, "Hey, that's cool, man."
Yeah.
So Peter turns around and sees a full-on Carnage standing behind him. And Carnage reaches out and touches Eddie, who starts to become Venom again. And he says, "That's it. It was in me. It just needed more. Thank you." And Venom starts growing and absorbing Carnage. And Peter tries to...
I don't understand at all how that happened. Eddie doesn't have it in him anymore, right?
That's what we were told.
That's what we saw. It like left, and then it went to Peter, and then...
Well, maybe some of it didn't.
That's just what we're like... That's what I figured also when this happened. I was like, well, maybe some of it didn't. Yeah, he still has a little inside him, I guess.
That's what they literally say.
It just needed more? What does that mean? It just needed more.
He's now in contact with Carnage, which is more Venom.
Okay.
Gosh,
okay.
John, don't you teach science?
Yeah. We aren't at the symbiote chapter yet.
This is basic symbiotism.
Yeah.
Okay, so Carnage reaches out and touches Eddie, who starts to become Venom again, and he says, "That's it. It was in me. It just needed more. Thank you." And Venom starts growing and absorbing Carnage, and Peter tries to pull the two apart, but Venom smacks him into the sky. And Carnage yells, "Peter, no!" as if it's Gwen, and starts fighting back against Venom. And Venom completely liquefies. Venom completely liquidifies and surrounds Carnage, and it seems like it pulls the Carnage right off Gwen Stacy. And we see a giant hulking Venom with black and red skin standing over normal Gwen. And Peter swings in and kicks Venom in the face, saying, "Okay, I may have made an error in judgment here, but I'm not giving up on you, Eddie." And he kicks both of them off of the roof and into the alley below. And on the roof, Gwen sees Iron Man fly in with several S.H.I.E.L.D. agents in tow.
Okay, so before we go any further, I'm guessing that people who were reading this when it came out were waiting for a Venom Carnage fight. So do you think that these like 5 or 6 pages we get, you think it lived up to you? Like, what are your thoughts? You know,
I think they've done other things like make Deadpool so different to where he sucked, and then like have the black suit Spidey era last just like a couple pages. I think compared to those kind of things, this is kind of a minor thing. I think people would have been looking forward to it, but it wouldn't have been like as egregious as those gaffes.
Okay. Well, I mean, I guess. So, what did you think of their fight?
I mean,
they had a good little fight there.
Okay. I was
You
going
know,
to say, if that's all we get of it, it's a little disappointing, but I think it's fine.
they wrestle. They're sticking their tendrils out.
They do, yeah. There is a little bit of wrestling going on. I don't know. I'm convinced Carnage would have won, not lost.
Hmm. I think it's probably hard to draw a fight in a comic book. I'm not nothing. That's what I thought of when I was reading this. I was like, I thought, oh, Carnage versus Venom. People are probably waiting for get your special sock out, nerds. This is about to be good. And as I was reading, I was like, okay, this seems, they're using their powers, right? That's kind of what you want to see whenever people fight, is like you want to see them fight in an interesting way where they use their powers, not that they just like punch each other for a bit,
Right. Yeah.
And I was like, okay, they're doing some stuff, we get some cool shots of this, but it could have been more, right? There's one cool one where Venom like way outstretches his arm, and then there's another one where like,
which we just saw last week he can do.
Yeah, so they do some cool stuff, but they probably could do more stuff where they're just using their powers a little more,
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
But it was fine.
So Peter is prepared to tussle with Venom, but Eddie says, "No fight. I have what I want," and dissolves into a sewer grate to escape, which we've seen him do before. And later at the Triskelion, Peter and Aunt May are talking to Tony Stank while Gwen sits in a room alone. And Tony says she's clean on every test. She just shows up like a regular 16-year-old girl with no symbiote. And Peter asks how that is, and Tony explains that the symbiote probably absorbed her DNA and memories when it killed her, and then made a molecular copy, which it abandoned to return to Eddie.
The symbiote, Carnage killed a lot of people. We like saw that. We like followed his path of destruction, that issue.
Yeah, that's true.
Is
But
there
she's the
a
only one-
reason that it would copy Gwen? Maybe a Spider-Man reason because she knew Spider-Man.
I'm going to say because it's the one that it had to impersonate the most because it was useful.
Okay.
Would be my guess. Because at one point it is an intentional choice of it, So I think if they made that choice and it was strategic, and then like that's just the one it knows to go to.
So previously when she was being interviewed, was that Gwen or was that the symbiote like pretending, trying to trick? Or was the symbiote just like dormant?
I would say dormant.
I would say that too. And that's what I would want it to be, But I'm just not sure why it would, right? Why would it not just be a big monster that destroys stuff? If it has like a thought, if it has like thoughts and like wants of its own, what does Carnage want?
I'd say it's nebulous.
What's that?
Confusing.
Okay.
Preposterous.
Okay.
Beknownst to us.
Okay. Unbeknownst to us. Okay.
The bleep is going to be the exact same. It's not even going to pick up how loud I did that.
Headphone check.
Yeah.
Okay. Do go on.
May asks, so she's a clone? And Tony says, yes, but an exact one. There's no definable difference. If she's biologically Gwen Stacy and mentally Gwen Stacy, who are we to say she's not Gwen Stacy? And I feel like to me that should be like the philosophical question behind this entire story arc. And they just kind of brush over it in one panel and are like, yay!
Yeah.
Like, I would have liked to have seen them wrestle with this a bit more.
Well, I'm sure you're about to get to it, but Peter's just like so happy that Tony Stark has said that it doesn't even matter.
He's not willing to question it.
And he shouldn't, especially him, because he's met other clones and he knows that they are like real people, right? Like he's met a clone of who he knows, like Jessica Drew is a real person. But then at the same time, right, he would probably never say that a clone of him was him.
Well, but he has. Well, I don't know. I think him and Jessica have looked at each other like, "You're me." But
have they? Okay.
Yeah. It is cool that these are like interweaving different themes that were just recently touched on in the book. And so Peter gets excited to hear that and says, "She's alive," and hugs Tony Stark. And Tony asks Peter if that's his girlfriend or something. And Peter says, "No, she's more like his sister." And Tony starts to say, but is interrupted by Carol Danvers. That's interesting. I want to know what he was going to say. If he was going to say like, "Oh, that's surprising," or, I think there was a little bit of something there where we were supposed to wonder. Tony thinks, him. Yeah.
Well, who knows what he was going to say? He could have said a million different things. He could have said, "That's good," because you probably still maybe don't want to get too close to her. Like who knows what he was about to say. Yeah. Tony doesn't have to be a creep, Zach.
Okay. I thought it's the ultimate universe. Everyone gets to be a creep.
Oh, that's right. I forgot.
Okay, so gets interrupted by Carol Danvers, and she's like girl bossing, honestly. She's like, yeah, that's great, but she's not going anywhere. This is S.H.I.E.L.D. property right here.
She walks up and says, "I'm in charge now."
It's that exact cop
Not
attitude.
anymore, you're not.
Yeah. Book 'em, boys. She's like, "We need to keep an eye on Gwen." And Tony's like, "He can do it, Danvers." And she's like, "Who? The kid?" And Tony says, "Kid's done a lot for you and this country." And Carol still thinks Gwen knows too much about S.H.I.E.L.D. to be let loose. But literally everyone in the room agrees against her. And so she caves in and she's like, "All right, she can be released to the Parker's custody." And Peter asks, "What about Roxxon and Trask and Eddie and his father's work?" And Carol says, "Well, kid, see if you see anything, call." And May starts worrying that they have to move again. But Tony Stark says he got what he wanted. He doesn't want to get caught. He'll stay away from you if he's got half a brain. He's already headed to Mexico. And
I'm not sure that this is how these people should be dealing with the situation. Like,
no, I'm trying to play that up.
Carol Danvers is just like, "Okay, well, I guess you're handling this now, Peter." And then Tony Stark's just like, "Yeah, he'll probably just like peace out. He's not just gonna keep eating random people."
None of these like highest paid U.S. like security defense people are about to like take the time and effort to just do their due diligence.
Yeah. Yeah, she's worse than Fury. I mean, she is. Well, and she's not as fun of a character to be with.
John, they say the next one will be sent by a woman.
What? What will be sent?
The missiles, the meme. Are you not like internet pilled too? Where it's like,
I definitely am in some things, but I guess
the
Middle
East is getting like carpet bombed in this political cartoon, and they're looking at the missiles, and people are like, they say the next one will be sent by a woman.
That's funny.
Like that's supposed to make him feel good. It's that like, well, S.H.I.E.L.D. is failing, but now it's failing under a woman, so we've made progress.
Good. I think that reminds me of, I think it was maybe like an Onion article that was like, Biden writes Black Lives Matter on drones before he bombs overseas countries or something, and it's like, good for him. Yeah.
There's all kinds of memes about like the Republican Party and Democratic Party being the same thing, but the Democratic Party has like pride flags and Black Lives Matter stickers and all these like things that they're saying they're different and they support, but really they're just the same.
But like they're all on the side of like the billionaires and big corporations, and none of them actually care about like working class people or stuff. I mean, we wouldn't say that. You're saying there's a lot of things out there that do say that.
Yeah.
I try to not get political on this podcast. I don't like it in Bendis's writing, okay? And I don't like it on the pod.
Right.
Okay. Carry on.
Dude, I think we might be number one in politics this week on pods. I think we are better than Pod Save America.
We'll have to add that to our demographic. It's
number one comic book podcast,
politics, and comics.
Yeah. John, can you imagine how long and off track this episode would be if we were on any kind of illicit substances?
I think it's fine. I think we're doing great. And I don't even think it's too long.
That's what she said.
It depends how much. I mean, yeah, we're doing fine.
Yeah, it doesn't look long when you're not the one editing.
Yeah, it's true.
Man, I haven't read this page in a really long time. Peter asks, what about Roxxon and Trask and Eddie and his father's work? And this is where Carol's like, well, kid, if you see anything, call us. And they start being incompetent. And so Tony said that if Eddie has any brains, he's already in Mexico, so they don't have to worry about him. And Carol says, we'll find him. And Peter repeats to her in a mocking, doubting tone, they'll find him. And we cut back to a scene at the very beginning where a man on the bench is sitting with Eddie. And the man says, wait, so you're saying you really fought Spider-Man? And Eddie looks at him and
Are we supposed to recognize this guy as
No.
anyone we've seen before? If
I
we
didn't
read
think
any
so.
other comics, like a Fantastic Four run or something, do you think we'd recognize this guy or no?
Oh, that I don't know.
Okay.
So the man says, wait, you're saying you really fought Spider-Man? And Eddie looks at him and turns into Venom, but right before he can eat the guy, the dude, this was hard to explain. I said he sucks Eddie into a Pokeball wristwatch. I mean, it's literally like he captured him like a Pokemon.
Yeah. And are you going to do the last panel on that page? Or
Yeah.
Can I? Okay.
Oh, no, go ahead.
No, you can. I just wanted to make sure that someone was going to.
So yeah, he sucks Eddie into a Pokeball wristwatch. He just like contains Eddie. And then we see the Beetle flying out of Central Park.
No. You missed the last panel that I wanted to talk about. Okay. So he sucks Eddie in like a Pokeball. And then we see that it was from this, like, we can see his, like, the sleeve of his coat come up. And I was just so certain that this was an Iron Man armor. And Tony Stark had some sort of, like, face-changing thing. I was just so certain. And it would have been an awesome ending, I think.
I had the same thought, and I forgot to say that.
But instead, like Zach says, it was the Beetle.
Sorry, guys, I skipped past that. That could have been more climactic.
Well, it's okay.
So yeah, it's the Beetle, and he's flying out of Central Park, and he's saying, theoretically on like some kind of call or something, please tell my lord that I am in receipt of the package, on my way home to the home country. The Lord's blessed Latveria. So he works for Dr. Doom. He's going to give it to Dr.
Gosh,
Doom.
I know. And poor me, I thought we were going to get 2 more issues here where we'd get to see what happened, but I guess we don't.
Yep. So I gave this one 9 out of 10 existential quandaries, oversimplified. Because I feel like that's what the story really is about and should be about, but it's made very simple. We're told, just believe me, it's Gwen Stacy, and there's nothing more philosophical to look into.
You know,
beyond that.
there's there's a number of Doctor Who episodes that go through that same like moral quandary. I mean, of course, when there's a show that's been on for 60 years and the character is the same character, but his face changes every, 4 years, like that's like very open to that type of story. And I think I always am like, yeah, they're the same person, of course. Like that's where I would always come down, and that's how Doctor Who always finishes the episode also, is like, and I think that this is Gwen Stacy, as long as she doesn't like carnage out, right? But I would say she doesn't even need to look like Gwen Stacy, because that's something that happens in Doctor Who also, and Tony Stark is specifically like, she looks like Gwen Stacy, she has her memories, so why isn't it Gwen Stacy? Well, even if she didn't look like Gwen Stacy, but she had Gwen's brain and her memories, that would still be Gwen Stacy. So I think I agree with the characters in the story that as long as she's safe, we can just take this as a win that Gwen Stacy is back.
All right. Well, there you have it. Gwen Stacy alive at 16.
Yep. But I didn't think this was as good as the last one. I think I'll give it an 8 out of 10. And maybe
That's
even like a 7, maybe even like a 7.8, because I was a bit disappointed when you told me that we weren't getting a couple extra issues in this. I don't like the ending on such a cliffhanger.
I also had given it an 8 out of 10 and then just changed it because my heart said to in that second.
I like it. You got to trust your heart.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think they meant to end on a cliffhanger.
Well, of course, because they want you to go and read Fantastic Four and see what happens,
Yeah.
And there's obviously a reason that they're like, let's go talk to the Fantastic Four. Oh, they're off saving the world or doing something important, Oh, let's go talk to the Ultimates. Oh, there they go to do something important. Like, obviously, those will get picked up elsewhere. They're probably off going somewhere, and I can see that this issue says next issue ultimatum, and I know that's like a big thing. So we're probably going to get everybody coming together here soon.
Well,
maybe
you analyzed all that really, really smart. I think that's like the correct read on it.
So is ultimatum next? Because that's what we've kind of been waiting for a little bit, right?
There's like 2 issues of a different series that I think it would be helpful for us to read before Ultimatum. So we're going to be getting into those next week.
Okay.
So that's going to be Ultimate Origins, issues 3 and 4. Those also are coming out around this time.
Ultimate Origins 3 and 4. So I saw when this issue started, when I think mine started, it says this issue occurs before Ultimates 3.
Mm-hmm.
And we read Ultimates 1 and 2.
I think, only read Ultimates 1.
I thought we did 2 also for some reason.
It's because they've come up in other stories.
I think we did 2. Because I think 2 is when he says the thing about Samuel L. Jackson playing him in a movie.
Here's a good way to know about 2.
Maybe not.
What do you know about Ultimate Black Widow? Because something happens to her in 2 that's pretty dramatic that changes.
Then I guess we probably done it. I don't remember what you're talking about.
Do you know why Black Widow isn't in the Ultimates right now and whenever we see the Ultimates?
No, not at all.
Like, to me, the most memorable thing about Ultimates 2 is she has started dating Iron Man. Okay, and then she like releases a sex tape of the 2 of them, and then the whole team.
This happens in Ultimates 2.
Yes,
I would have remembered reading about this. I think
it gets crazier. The whole team is like trying to figure out who the mole is in the Ultimates the whole time, and it ends up being the like former Russian spy. She's like a Russian asset still. And she starts like trying to take everyone out. She kills Jarvis. She kills Hawkeye's whole family and is like the bad guy. And then at the end, Hawkeye puts an arrow through her head. So for the rest of time, Ultimate Black Widow is just like a terrorist traitor.
Who's dead now.
Yes.
I don't think I like that.
I don't like it. There's a reason we read the first Ultimates. It's important to know who the Ultimates are.
Yeah.
Everyone after that sucks more and more. Ultimates 3 and I think 4 are like the most despised comics.
But that's
by
not
a
what we're
lot.
reading. We're reading
No.
Ultimate Origins.
We're reading Ultimate Origins. But so keep that in mind if like way later in the Ultimate run, if there's a character who's like, hey, I'm kind of spider themed, I'm going to call myself Black Widow. And that seems really weird because that'd be like someone in our universe naming themselves after Osama bin Laden.
Okay.
It's like this was not a good person. Why are you evoking that?
Okay. You got anything else on Spider-Man or on these issues?
I don't think so. I think this was a pretty in-depth issue read this week.
I think so too.
I think it speaks for itself.
Okay, what else?
Okay, when
have?
you were talking about Doctor Who a minute ago, did I stop you and tell you my Doctor Who thing?
No.
Okay, I meant to. Do you know about the only Doctor Who museum and store in the US?
I want to say yes because I want to say that Elizabeth and I went there like just one random Saturday when we like trapped a raccoon outside our house that was like injured, and we were like trying to get it so we could like take it somewhere to help it. And it was like, it was hard, right? It's like chasing a raccoon up a tree and like trying to play like broom ball with him to like lead him into the fucking place. And we finally did get him, and we were taking him like someplace to the woman who like does a rescue, and we just happened to drive past this like Doctor Who thing, and we like stopped in for a while, and it was pretty cool. I thought it was like really cool.
Did you have the raccoon when you stopped in?
No, we stopped in on the way back.
Okay.
We saw it on the way there. We stopped in on the way back.
Yeah, it's in Canby, Indiana, and I've passed it recently a couple times.
Yep. Yeah, pretty cool. I actually have a snow. I bought a like Doctor Who like snow cat thing.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, good. I'm glad you know about it and have been there.
Yeah, it was cool. Do you have anything else?
Yeah. So I kind of
Good.
This is going to be. You know
I
what?
don't.
This is another giant-sized episode. Last week was giant-sized. This one's giant-sized. As soon as we break 2 hours, it gets giant-sized in the title. Like any good double-length comic book. Dragon Con. I referenced that earlier.
Okay.
Dude, this is the convention that we're going to go to on Shiloh's birthday weekend. And, of course, if you want to come, like, you're invited to.
When is that and what is that?
Yeah, it's in Atlanta. It's Labor Day weekend.
Atlanta, Indiana?
Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay. There is an Atlanta, Indiana.
Okay, well, you were testing me. It's like 60, 70,000 people, they say. Like, it's a huge event.
Okay.
These are like some of the guests there. It's like 5 days. This will be popular on this pod. Vincent D'Onofrio.
Ooh.
So I was like, I would love for him to hear John's Vincent D'Onofrio impression.
Is he doing like a panel?
Yeah, I think all these people
Is that
are.
what you mean when you say guest? Okay.
Yeah. Giancarlo Esposito.
Ooh, dude.
From Breaking Bad and
the boys,
everything
of the
else.
Mandalorian. Yeah. And he's in the MCU now.
He is.
Yeah.
Jim Mafood.
Jim Mafood.
Yep. Jared Padalecki from Supernatural. Catherine Tate.
Oh, I saw her when Zach and I went to the Indiana Comic Con, but you didn't see her.
Lexington?
Right? Lexington, yeah.
I saw her.
You saw her? Okay.
Dude, she was electric. She was like walking in her panel and stuff.
You didn't see John Barrowman.
That's the one I missed.
Yeah. Catherine Tate was better.
Jodie Whittaker.
Oh, okay.
The doctor. And then Seth Green.
Yep. I know Seth Green.
Danny Trejo.
Dude, this is quite the list.
And then it's got like some bands, like Galactic Empire is like a metal band that does covers of like the John Williams Star Wars score. And Health has like scored video game theme songs like Cyberpunk 2077 and Max Payne and Grand Theft Auto 5.
Nice.
They've got have you seen that sport that's like people have like Iron Maidens and swords and shields and they're like scoring points just going to medieval battle?
No, I haven't.
They're going to have that. They're going to have wrestling and cosplay and shopping and all kinds of cool stuff.
Nice, dude. That'll be awesome. When did you say that is?
Shadow's birthday, Labor Day weekend. It's like a
okay.
Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
Okay. Well, I'm pretty certain that I won't join that since it's in Atlanta and that's, a bit further than just like going to Lexington for a day.
Sure.
But I'm sure that will be awesome and it'll be really fun.
Yeah, I'll report on the ground. I'm sure they'll have like
definitely
Spider-Man themed stuff because it's like for all it's not like just a Comic Con. It's like for authors and actors and video games and all kinds of stuff.
Oh, that'll be awesome. Yeah, definitely. That'll be a fun episode when we get to hear your scoop about everything.
Yeah.
How it was.
Yep, excited for that. Think it'll hopefully be good.
Let me see if I took notes on anything this week, Zach, if I saw anything interesting that happened. I don't think I did. Nope, I didn't.
Okay. Do you got a jam for the week?
I kind of have a jam. Okay. So
you
this
got
is
these two tennis rackets and you can't pick which one.
I'm in a jam. No, for the start of the school year, and this is just a song that pops up on my like playlist sometimes. I've got You're Gonna Go Far, Kid by The Offspring.
Okay.
It's a pretty good one. What's your jam of the week?
Did I invite you to go with me to see them last summer?
No, because if it was in Indy, I very well may have gone to see that because I actually really like The Offspring.
I'm just realizing that would have made sense, and I don't know why I didn't invite you because it was at the venue where I can get into the pit for free, and I did. And it was The Offspring.
Dude, you do not want to... If you think your other buddy can't hang at a place, I promise you I can't hang with you at a show.
No. Listen to this. It was The Offspring, Sum 41, and Simple Plan. What a fun night.
Oh my gosh, what a lineup.
How did I not think to... I don't know.
That's awesome.
Yeah. We had to leave it early anyways because my cousin's dog was like throwing up or swallowed a remote or something.
Oh gosh.
I do have a jam. It's Left the City by Better Love. This is just like a little fun pop rock group in Chicago that I listen to.
Who's it by?
Better Love. Not Better Lovers. That's a different band.
I listened to She's Kerosene, and it was one that I had heard before, and it's a certified bop. I'm happy to report back. I've heard it a lot this week.
Where's it on the mozzarella scale?
Dude, it's not as...
It's not quite sizzling, right?
It's not even... I wouldn't even think, when I listen to it, I don't even see it as a ska. Which I know you're like a much more ska expert as I am, but it's not like crazy sounding,
It's because
like,
it doesn't have horns.
Ska has a part of ska is like some random monkeys just like got a hold of instruments in the background. and it doesn't really have that, and you're probably right. It's probably like the horns that really give it that ska feel.
Yeah, you're missing the horns, but technically that like...
But that doesn't make it any less of a bop, because it is.
It's a bop, yeah.
Yeah.
And Left the City by Better Love is also a bop.
Okay, I'll check it out. All right, trivia time. Lay some trivia questions on me.
I almost forgot about trivia time. Wonder what would have made me do that. All right. Was Black Cat the first female villain to face off against Spider-Man? That's a stupidly worded question. What a rude question. I walked in here and I said, no one's ever asked a question this rude.
I think I'm going to say yes.
I mean, it looks like it's set up.
There's a 50%. Yeah.
It looks like it's fishing for yes, the way it's worded.
That's
but
what
the
I think.
answer's
Oh,
no.
Gosh.
So I don't like that question.
So who was the first?
You'd think I'd say that.
It doesn't say.
Hold on, I'm trying to read this. This answer doesn't even make sense. No, Black Cat, also known as Felicia Hardy, was the first female villain to take on Spider-Man on her own, but had already done battle with a woman. Oh, but he had already done battle. The answer is Princess Python.
Oh, of course. We all know her.
Yeah. Even that answer was written confusing.
Yeah. 0 for 1.
All right. This is a good trivia question. Who starred as Spider-Man in the 1977 to 1978 TV series?
I have no idea.
Nicholas Hammond.
That is a good trivia question. 0 for 2. Uh-oh.
Yep. Okay, last one. What other superhero shows were part of the CBS lineup with Spider-Man?
In 1978?
Yes.
Okay, I know that was... Well, Adam West had Batman, but I think that was before 1978.
Yeah.
So what other superhero shows were there even back then? Okay, definitely the Hulk with Lou Ferrigno is going to be on there.
Ding, ding, ding.
How many are there?
Other.
One other? Okay. And what else? What else was a show that was on there? I'm pretty sure there was a Captain America movie back then, but I'm pretty sure there was not a Captain America show. I'm not looking at the camera, so I can't see Zach's face as I'm thinking through my answer.
Bro, you're dodging landmines. You're working this out fantastically.
I'm going to say Fantastic Four. So I feel like there was a Fantastic Four back then. And I can't think... Oh, man. It probably wasn't that because you would have said something right when I said that. So I'm going to take my second guess and say Iron Man.
John, I want to be very clear. I think this is very crooked and unfair to you. It's a DC show. It's the New Adventures of Wonder Woman.
Oh, Wonder Woman. I could have came up with that. I mean, I know Wonder Woman obviously had a show. I should have been able to get that.
But the way it was written, I would have expected it to be a Marvel show.
Well, I wasn't thinking that at the start because the first thing I thought of was Batman.
That's true.
And I was like, because I even thought they wouldn't, I don't think they'd care that much about Marvel or DC back then. But then when I got the Hulk, then I was like, okay, Spider-Man, the Hulk, it's probably another Marvel person.
Yeah.
So I was off DC.
I think those questions were so like sneaky, confusing, misleading, poorly written.
Okay. Do you want a Super Bowl question? Just one.
We broke 2 hours, so I'm convinced no one's going to stop the episode now because of the Super Bowl question.
Well,
so let's do it.
The Super Bowl question will lead us into plugging the Fantasy Football League again afterwards.
Okay. Because it's okay to repeat ourselves.
It is.
Which is itself repeating ourselves.
And honestly, I just want to say there's something else. It's also okay to repeat a joke that's not funny. If it's funny, if it's funny to you, because I do bits all the time that are just for me. Okay.
Always ask the other person, "Hey, did you hear that?" And then repeat it again.
Yep. Sometimes that's actually the funniest thing you can do.
They probably just didn't hear it.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to find one that's not too easy and not too hard. Okay, here's one. 4 men have both a Heisman Trophy and a Super Bowl MVP. How many can you come up with? I would not. I'll give you a hint and say I would probably not get. I've heard of all these people, but I would not get any of these. But you are more football knowledgeable than I am.
A Heisman Trophy
and a Super Bowl MVP.
Desmond Howard.
That's one. He's one of the few defensive players to win a Heisman Trophy, right? And I believe he was the person that won it instead of Peyton Manning when Peyton Manning was a senior.
That's Charles Woodson.
That's Charles Woodson. Yep, you're right. Yep.
Okay. John Elway.
John Elway must not have won the Heisman Trophy because he's not on this list.
Oh, that's crazy. Okay, so how many?
Or maybe he didn't win. He might not have won the MVP because
he won one.
Did he win one? Okay.
He won one, and Terrell Davis won one.
I knew Terrell Davis won one. Okay.
Okay.
There's 4 people. You've got one of them.
4 people. I've got Desmond Howard. Can I ask? Did they play before or after Desmond Howard? Was he the first?
Desmond Howard seems young to me, or isn't he?
90s. He played in the 90s.
Then I think these other 3 are before him. I think.
Won a Heisman and a Super Bowl MVP.
He's not going to get it, listeners. He got one.
Marcus Allen.
He's got 2.
Okay, that gave me a little bit of hope.
Oh my gosh.
Joe Theismann famously did not win the Heisman, even after changing his name to rhyme with it.
There's 2 to go. And I'm looking up the years on them just to make sure that they were before that. That first one definitely is. And then the second one I know is. Yeah. Yep. These are both pretty old quarterbacks.
Okay. Because I was starting to think about like Larry Zonka. That's when you're getting bad. Okay. Old quarterbacks. Oh, Joe Namath.
No.
What?
No, I don't know. He must not have won the Heisman if he won that MVP. All right, I'm giving you 20 more seconds before the listeners get bored.
Okay. It was all right, so I've got Desmond Howard,
and
Marcus Allen, and it's 2 old quarterbacks. I don't think Steve Young. Yeah, Young won a Heisman. So Steve Young
must not have won a Heisman.
Guess he didn't win a Heisman. Shoot. I feel like I always see him up there every year.
All right. You want to hear who they were?
Wait. Troy Aikman?
You're close with that one, which will maybe give you...
Roger Staubach?
Roger Staubach.
Won a Heisman at Navy?
He's on the list.
Okay. Huh.
And the last one who I figured you wouldn't get is Jim Plunkett.
Oh my God, I should have actually known that.
All right, so I'm sure everyone found that very interesting who likes
Comment how many you guys got.
Yeah. Okay. 5 more open spots in the Fantasy Football League. We've got 7. I think I'd like to get to 12 if we can.
I'll accept 10.
I'll accept 10 too, but I'd like to get to 12, and I'm willing to go as high as 14. You know, if we get 14 people who want to play, then what are we not gonna?
You guys hear that? We're halfway there.
Yep. So write us a comment. Should we send it out? Tell the people how to write a comment.
Yeah. That seems like a good, smart way to do it.
All right. Thank you to Ian Hickey for the music and Alyssa Seaman for the artwork. And thank you all for listening and leaving us a review or a comment or telling a friend. You can find us, the First Read Ultimate Spider-Man podcast, on Spotify or Apple Music or anywhere else you find podcasts. And you can come and chat with us and leave us a comment on Instagram at First Read Podcast. Send us an email at firstreadspidey@gmail.com or find us on YouTube, First Read Ultimate Spider-Man Podcast. See you next week.
See ya.